Okay, welcome back. There are phrases and terms that are within the Gospel of Thomas that I'd just like to explain. And one of those is the term unity or to unite. There are several sayings where Jesus says, when you make the two into one. And that image of unity encapsulates the aim of Thomas. Now, amongst spiritual communities, the term enlightenment is the term that is used often for people who have attained a certain level. But what I've discovered is that although that term enlightenment works within Buddhism and within the East, because it kind of reflects their teachings, when it's used in the Western spiritual development, it puts a person up on a pedestal. We get enlightened masters. And that instantly puts what they have done and where we are in these two different places. There's a kind of a gulf between that. And when I was at the ashram years and years and years ago, Osho was referred to as his enlightened master. And although he spoke very, very eloquently and at great length about the path that the follower should take, it always felt like this thing, enlightenment, was somehow beyond reach. It was somehow only there for this very, very select few. Unity gives us an image and a very achievable state of consciousness that many of us can now attain. When you make two into one, let's explore that. On one side of that, you have the familiar self. You have the thing that you know as yourself, this character, this identity, the thing that you wake up with every day, this person that you believe yourself to be, that interacts with the world, that has reactions and responses, that is shaped by the fears and beliefs and the ideas and thoughts that are ingrained within that consciousness. You are trapped in that, and the vast majority of people around the world are trapped in the isolation of that creation that they are. Now, you also have a spirit, what I describe as the living spirit, the essence and energy that gives you life. If that's not there, this physical thing that you are is dead, dies. The teachings that we have been presented with by Jesus in the Gospel of Thomas, firstly, open up the possibility that you are not what you seem. He describes to us the being that you are before you come into physical being. In the Gospel of John, John describes Jesus as Jesus was before he incarnated. He's saying that Jesus was something else before he came into the physical body. That spirit, that living spirit, has chosen you as its host. Your spirit isn't yours. You are its. It is on an eternal journey, almost, but it is growing through continually reincarnating. It is the eternal bit of you. You have a very limited lifespan. You have just the years that a human body can live for. Your perception of what you are, as we've spoken about, has been directed by looking out into the world. Well, if nobody else is aware that they have a spirit, if nobody else is telling you that you must look for that spirit, then you don't. It doesn't occur in your mind that there is something missing. Now we're opening that possibility up. Now we're saying you have 5 senses. Use them to perceive the living spirit. Fine-tune them. In meditation, sense what is happening around you. Now, I have spoken before that those people who do hands-on healing, like something like Reiki, become very sensitive to being able to pick up energies, to be able to pick up that sense of spirit. Turn your hands on yourself. Feel what is going on around you as one of the senses that will refocus your mind onto what is happening internally. There are also other clues. Whistling in the ears is one. Now, people say, oh, that's tinnitus. But at very specific times, when you are in meditation or when your hands are focused on yourself, this whistling suddenly starts. And it is a change of frequency. You are changing frequency from being immersed in this dense physical world to suddenly retuning to a much, much higher frequency. One of those tells is that your ears whistle, sometimes quite painfully. All kinds of senses start to happen. Often there is a sense of tingling or brushing around the skin that happens. Very, very subtle changes that you begin to notice. That is you retuning your senses so that you can perceive what wasn't perceivable before. The main thing that starts you looking for the living spirit is the very idea that it exists, the very notion that there is something missing from me. And as we've said, that is not a conversation that you can have with most of the people that you know. They're just going to think you're absolutely mad. But once you start, once you have that thought, I need to discover this, that's when things change, because that is also activating and opening the door for the living spirit to come knocking, for it to make its presence known. And it will, because it has chosen you on purpose. This isn't happening by accident. The spirit which is in you, has chosen you because you are a person of potential, because you have the potential to wake up, to become aware of its presence. That's the first step. Now, during your meditation time, during this time when you are by yourself, when you have those solitary moments where you can begin that sensing process, it will grow. And because of that, this snowball effect starts to happen. Now, much further down the line, you discover this place of unity which you have grown into, and your ability to perceive and simply be in that state of the living spirit becomes the norm. It becomes the more normal connection, the more normal state for you to be able to perceive. And that's where the term unity encapsulates the state that you are trying to be in. Now, those two things for a very long time, the physical and the non-physical, give you this dual sense of I, where you are most certainly yourself in physical situations, and you're most certainly a spirit, and that has this sense of I. When you are by yourself and when you're in a meditative sort of state, eventually those two things come together and you begin to recognize that I am not just the thing that I was. I am this much greater being. I have this huge span that the physical body is now a bridge between these two dimensions. That's unity. That is an achievable state. That is a very, if I could use down to earth state, that you can grow into. It unfolds, and the sayings which are in Thomas make you aware of the different stages and the different areas of yourself that you need to look into. Now, that will naturally be reflected in what occurs in your life. And as events happen to you, as things in daily life happen to you, it will suddenly make you aware of a response or a reaction that you have. The biggest barrier to you discovering the living spirit is you in your current state. That's the biggest barrier. That's a big moment of awareness where you realize, I have to get out of my own way. I have to peel off all these layers. I have to understand all of these different responses and reactions that I have, which are stopping me from having that interaction with the non-physical dimension. Being able to find that place of unity. What is stopping you is you. That's quite a moment, and it's quite troubling to realize that. Often that puts you in a place of, wow, that seems insurmountable. How do I get me out of the way? You can't do that all at once. Now, some people do. Some people have that as an awakening. they have that instant awakening because they catch the mind off guard. They catch that defensive self security mechanism off guard. And they have an instant awakening. And it is both shocking and amazing. What happens after that? Because usually that state stays with them for days or even months. Eventually it tails off. And they're left in this place of, what do I do now? I've lost that connection. And then they have to start the same process of discovering what happened to them. That will again come down to that awareness and the understanding of the human condition and the human programming. So we all have to go through that in order to discover this place of when two becomes one, unity. So we will use that unity word to describe the place and the aim of Thomas.